Live from WRAL News Headquarters in Raleigh, your number one source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
Our next weather maker is this front that's likely to bring us some showers and possible thunderstorms this evening. I'll show you the timeline.
Immigration bill protest. People plan to gather in Raleigh this afternoon in opposition to proposed immigration policy. The connection between this and protests across the country.
And a presidential visit. President Donald Trump will be at Fort Bragg today to celebrate the Army's 250th birthday. We'll tell you about what you need to know about the big event. Thank you so much for joining us here on your Tuesday, June 10th. I'm Michelle McConaughey.
I'm Chris Lumigett. And it's a pretty calm Tuesday,
so
waking
far.
up.
So
not
far,
mad
so
about
good.
it, not mad about it. A little activity, though, that we're seeing on the radar there that meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner is tracking moment by moment.
Right now, we're seeing a lot of cloud cover, but not much action in terms of showers and thunderstorms. That's likely to happen much later today. Not that we couldn't see just a quick little sprinkle here or there, but our best chance for storms will come after sunset. And we do have a level 1 risk, so that means that 1 or 2 of these could produce some wind damage. Futurecast is trying to pop up a stray shower or so. Really not seeing anything out there right now. But again, 1 or 2 of those could certainly pop up between now and the time we get to, say, 6 or 7 o'clock. After that, we start to see this line of storms forming up. This is 8 o'clock, and you can see this broken line. This is where we would see the chance for some heavy rain, some blustery winds, and maybe 1 or 2 instances where a tree comes down. Right now, we're looking at mainly cloudy skies. It's warm and breezy. Our dew point is way over there on the muggy side of the muggy meter, 75 in the triangle. Currently, hour by hour, we climb into the mid-80s for highs this afternoon. But it turns hotter as we head toward the Father's Day weekend, and our heat index really climbs along with our chance for storms. I'll show you coming up, Ken.
801 Elizabeth, we're staying on top of that incident that we've been following for the last hour now on in the 1200 block of Everett Road. Our friends of Raleigh Wake 911 reported it as car into flood waters, but we do know from our crew on the scene that it's actually a car into a body of water right off Everett Road. This is just north of Highway 98 there in Wake Forest. You can see the car submerged there. Our crew is on the ground right now getting some more information. As soon as we gather some more information, any new information, we'll be having a live report from Laura and Charles in just a little bit. A little bit closer to Raleigh, in Wake County, you can see the southern loop of the Beltline. The congestion is definitely building on that southern loop, but traffic is moving. Similarly, on the northern loop of the Beltline, even though congestion is building, traffic is moving along nicely, maybe a 1 to 2 minute delay, if that at all. In terms of other major routes coming into the capital city, the main trouble spot, Fins and Wake Forest, you're looking at a 6-minute delay. Over in Durham, very little to no delays, just Highway 98, you're looking at a 4-minute delay. You're getting ready to head into the car. Tune us in on the radio, 101.5 HD3.
All right, thank you, Ken. Today, President Trump will be in Fayetteville for a military readiness display at Fort Bragg. Soldiers will present as they celebrate the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army. The pre-show starts at 1 o'clock this afternoon. Then the readiness demonstration will begin around 2:30. Finally, President Trump will give a speech on post at 4 o'clock this afternoon. And WRAL's Kelsey Coffey is at Fort Bragg this morning ahead of final preparations.
Away from Air Force One landing here at Fort Bragg. The last time President Trump was in the Fayetteville area was back in October during the 2024 presidential election. Trump is coming back today to celebrate the Army's 250th birthday. Paratroopers and military equipment will be used in a private readiness demonstration. Trump will give a speech later that's open to the public. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth will also be at Fort Bragg today. Gates open at 10:30 for the Army birthday celebration. There will be a flyover, a Golden Knights jump, family-friendly activities, and more. Army veteran Dr. Josh McConkey says having this event at Fort Bragg is special.
It's one of the largest bases in the United States. It's home of airborne operations and special operations. So the president flying out here to North Carolina to commemorate that birthday really highlights the importance of Fort Bragg.
You can watch President Trump's full speech from Fort Bragg at 4 o'clock, live on Fox 50 and WRAL.com. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News from Fort Bragg.
Raleigh police are looking for whoever is responsible for a shooting at an apartment complex. The shooting happened last night on Caldera Lane in North Raleigh. At least 12 officers were on the scene there. Police did not release the name of the person who was shot. They say that person is expected to live.
Protests over ongoing ICE raids are intensifying in Los Angeles, with tensions growing between protesters and law enforcement. Today, we expect roughly 700 Marines to hit the streets of L.A. They're tasked exclusively with defending federal property and personnel. They'll join the lines alongside another 2,000 National Guard troops who have been federalized by President Trump. This despite calls from California's governor and L.A.'s mayor to stop mobilization. Crowd control efforts are underway on the local level. Some streets are blocked off and police are using non-lethal measures, including tear gas, rubber bullets, and flashbangs.
We do want to get to some breaking news right now that WRAL's Laura Levine is at right now. Laura, there is a car that appeared to have crashed into a pond. Tell me a little bit, where are you and what have you learned so far since you arrived at that scene?
Chris, emergency responders have this road blocked off here. We're on Averett Road in Roseville. You can see we have EMS here, Roseville Police, as well as the Wake County Sheriff's Office. If we pan the camera this way, though, you can see why we're seeing such a large presence here. There is a vehicle submerged in this pond nearby. We got to the scene maybe 5 minutes ago, so I'm working to get some more information from State Highway Patrol here to learn the condition of the people or person who was in this vehicle. But again, you can see just a large presence here with EMS and first responders on the scene. We are near a neighborhood, very close to this neighborhood here in Roseville, Elizabeth Springs area, if you are familiar with the area. So again, right now, just trying to get some more details confirmed from the officials on the scene here on what exactly happened and the condition of the people involved. We'll be sure to bring you those updates as soon as we get them. Laura Levine, WRAL News in Wake County.
A protest is planned at the state capitol in Raleigh this afternoon, and they'll be there as lawmakers plan to vote on a border bill. The new Republican-backed bill is called the North Carolina Border Protection Act. It would strengthen coordination with federal immigration officials, charge sanctuary cities with crimes, and prevent undocumented immigrants from collecting state benefits. Debate in the Senate is expected to start around 4 o'clock this afternoon, and protesters are expected to gather outside the legislative building ahead of that vote.
Breaking news, at least 8 people are dead after a shooting at a high school in Austria this morning. That includes students and teachers. The shooting happened in the city of Graz. The shooter is also dead. The shooter is believed to have shot and killed themselves. And today we expect to hear from Bill Belichick and what's ahead for Carolina football. The new head coach and a handful of UNC football players will take part in a Q&A at Keenan Football Center. This comes as the Tar Heels are less than 3 months away from the start of the football season. Today's briefing is scheduled to start at 11 a.m.
The Durham County Board of Commissioners approved a $1 billion budget proposal, and that budget received unanimous approval at last night's meeting. The plan includes an increase to the county tax rate, a pay raise for county workers, and a $10 million increase to the school district budget.
Raleigh City Council settled on what is and what is out of nearly $1.8 billion budget. Council members gave the package unanimous approval. The proposal includes raises for nearly all city employees and some increases stormwater, utility and solid waste fees. It does not raise property taxes. Covering Wake County today, school leaders will work on a plan to reduce food waste. The county school board's Facilities and Operations Committee will hear from the nonprofit Toward Zero Waste. They'll talk about efforts to reuse packaged, unopened food that would otherwise just go in the trash. That meeting is scheduled to start at 3 o'clock this afternoon at the Wake Public Schools building in Cary.
The mayor of Fayetteville plans to deliver his State of the City address tonight. Mayor Mitch Colvin will give that speech at City Hall, and that's expected to start at 6 p.m.
The Raleigh Transportation Department is hosting a series of pop-up sessions as part of National Safety Month. This is part of the Raleigh's Vision Zero initiative. That's the effort to eliminate injuries and deaths from traffic crashes. Today's session will be at Pullen Park from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. People who go will learn about crash prevention.
Your time is 8:09. Global soccer stars in the Triangle. A local stadium is welcoming Global stars for a match tonight. Which teams and how much it'll cost you to see all the action.
And the D.C. mid-air collision audit. Federal lawmakers calling for a deeper investigation into January's deadly D.C. mid-air collision, where they are turning their attention to now.
Cloudy skies today means our temperatures will stay a bit cooler. We'll see highs in the mid-80s. But late this afternoon and this evening, we'll start to see a front approaching. I'll show you when we could see some scattered storms. 8:12, taking a look at dual Doppler 5000 radar. It is quiet right now, no rain to be seen, but it's gray out there. And so I think people are probably wondering, when is it going to rain? There could be just a couple of isolated showers that pop up at any point today, but our best chance of rain comes after dinner time around 7, 8, 9 o'clock. That's when a cold front approaches, and it could bring us a few isolated storms that produce some wind damage. Take a look at our Garner Tower. Lots of cloud cover here. You can see a few holes in the clouds where you can see the ground as we look over toward Garner. Our temperatures upper 60s to low 70s right now. 72 Holly Springs, 73 in Fayetteville, 72 in Garner, 71 degrees in Cary. It is going to be a muggy, sticky day today, but not as hot as it was yesterday. Temperatures will be in the mid 80s if you're headed out to exercise. You know, it's always better this time of year, the earlier in the day that you can go. Ask the Meteorologist is coming up in just a few minutes. Meteorologist Chris Michaels is going to talk about which model is better during hurricane season, and he'll explain what a model is and why we use them. Ken?
All right, happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center, you see some congestion building on some of our major routes, but the real issue that we're following right now is really between Wake Forest and Roseville. This is a car into a pond, a body of water, right off the 1200 block of Averitt Road there in northern Wake County. You can see the situation. That's an active scene. We've got Laura Levine and photographer Charles Bradley on the scene. We'll have an update coming up in just a few minutes.
Check in just a bit. Thank you, Ken. New this morning, Russia sent waves of drones and missiles to attack 2 Ukrainian cities. Ukrainian leadership says that the attack killed 2 people and wounded at least 13 others. A maternity hospital and homes in the southern city of Odessa were damaged. And just yesterday, Russia and Ukraine conducted a large prisoner swap, but neither side said how many soldiers were exchanged. And new this morning, Israel deported climate activist Greta Thunberg. Pictures show her being on a flight to Paris after Israeli forces detained her. Thunberg and other activists were on a ship with aid bound for Gaza that was seized. At least 5 of the other crew members were also deported.
The Durham Planning Commission is meeting this evening to discuss a major development in the works. The commission says the Durham Gateway at Briar Creek will be located along Leesville Road near US 70. It'll include more than 1,700 apartments, townhomes, and homes. The plan also includes more than 1.2 million square feet for commercial development. That meeting is scheduled for 5:30 this afternoon at City Hall.
Starting July 1st, you will not be able to make your tax payments in person in 4 Wake County towns. Those towns include Apex, Holly Springs, Knightdale, and Roseville. Now, they'll no longer accept in-person property tax payments, and county leaders say this is happening as in-person payments have declined and more digital options are becoming available. You can access the payment portal at wake.gov/payonline.
Happening tonight, Chapel Hill's Kenan Stadium hosting international soccer. There will be an exhibition match between Mexico and Turkey. It's the 3rd year in a row that Kenan Stadium has hosted an international competition. The game starts at 8:30. Some tickets are still available, starting at about $70.
Look at that triangle on the world stage again. The WRAL weather team uses computer models for daily forecasting and for hurricane season. Meteorologist Chris Michaels is here to explain how they use these models. And Chris, you're looking at how 2 of them performed during last hurricane season.
Right, because there's so many different models, and I've talked to people about it before, and they're like, what in the world is a model to begin with? Well, you think of it as like a supercomputer. It takes all these mathematical equations, puts it into the computer, and then it spits out this kind of stuff that we use as a simulation of the atmosphere to see how it's going to behave on any given day. Now, there's several different models out there. Each of them have their strengths and their weaknesses, and we use them as guidance, not gospel. So still needs human input. You think you may check your phone's standard app. All it uses is strictly model data, whereas our weather app, we're actually going into it and making changes and putting our thoughts into it. So in terms of hurricane season, there were 18 total storms. That's a busy season. But when you look at 2 different models, the GFS, which is the American, and the European, they had huge biases. Over the course of the season, the GFS produced more than 400 storms, just totally in fantasy land, and the European produced more than 100. So there's biases there. We show you why those biases are there in the models and also how you should digest this kind of information, especially on social media. That's right now on WRAL.com.
A little more context when you hear the word spaghetti plot. All right, thanks, Chris. A Delta airline flight bound for Orlando was forced to make an emergency landing in Jacksonville, Florida. Delta says teams declared an emergency after detecting smoke on board. The airline has not found any indication of a fire, and according to FlightAware, the plane was coming from Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport in Atlanta. Authorities say no one was hurt and there was no fire at that scene.
Senate leaders are calling for an air traffic safety audit. This comes after the deadly midair collision near D.C.'s Reagan National Airport. The crash killed 67 people and raised questions about safety issues at the airport. A bipartisan group of leaders are asking the Transportation Department and the Army to conduct internal investigations for review.
Covering Wake County, an expansion may be ahead for one landfill. Officials say that it is because of more construction in the area. There's a proposal to add 11 acres to the Shotwell landfill's disposal area, and staff say that it would be built within the facility's current property on Smithfield Road. Shotwell only accepts construction waste, and the landfill manager says an increase in construction across the area means the facility needs more space to hold thrown-out materials.
We see that more every day, that these lands are turning into developments, and all of that with the new construction generates so much more waste that a place has to go to.
Staff say the expansion would extend the landfill's lifetime to 2037. A public hearing on the proposed expansion is scheduled for June 16th at the Wake County Justice Center.
Chimney Rock is set to open at the end of the month after the damage from Helene. A little farther south, the recovery at Lake Lure is far from over. Heavy machinery has been working daily for months. The results are starting to show, and the people around the lake are noticing.
We're amazed that they're cleaning it up this well. Yeah, we're surprised. You know, you see a lot of things happen, get devastated, nobody's doing anything about it. Here, you can see they're doing stuff.
It's a lot better, but it's still got a lot of room to grow.
Yeah, the lake still has more visible soil than water. It's going to be like that for the foreseeable future.
Wake County and Duke Energy want to ensure that you're prepared in a severe weather situation. Emergency kits will soon be available to Wake County residents thanks to a HERO grant. The kits will contain flashlights, batteries, first aid kits, weather radios, and emergency blankets. Plans for distributing these kits will be announced pretty soon.
All right, let's get over to meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner in the WRAL Severe Weather Center. A pretty cloudy start for us on this Tuesday. No rain yet, Elizabeth.
That's right. And it's likely to be fairly late in the day. It's cloudy enough. I mean, look at these dark clouds here in Fayetteville. I'm sure people are wondering, when is it going to rain? And it's possible that there could be just a few light sprinkles that pop up, especially south and east of the triangle, say around Fayetteville. But Apex, Raleigh, Chapel Hill, all looking very gray right now. Chapel Hill's courtesy of Top of the Hill restaurant. But we take a look at what's happening. There's nothing showing up on dual Doppler 5000 radar. Our cold front still back to the west, and it sweeps through later on this evening. And that's when we'll have the best chance of showers and thunderstorms. Futurecast is showing a little shower here, but there's actually nothing falling. So it's a kind of wishful thinking, I think, on the part of the model. We're nice and dry at lunchtime and on through the afternoon. There's 3 o'clock. Once we get to the evening commute, again, maybe a sprinkle or two pops up, and we're talking about maybe a 10% chance of rain. But then as we get towards 7 and 8 o'clock, we begin to see a line of storms developing along the front. This is where we could see some brief heavy rain, and maybe 1 or 2 of these cells produces some wind damage. And so that's why we have our level 1 risk. Again, the timeline for this is going to be after dinner time, after sunset, and gusty winds will be our biggest threat. We look ahead to our next weather maker, and it's a real pattern change that arrives by the time we get to the Father's Day weekend. We're going to see more of a surge of warmth coming back into our area, and another chance for thunderstorms. Once today's front moves through, we're going to see high pressure building in, a brief little break in humidity, and our chances for rain. But once we hit Friday, we're going to see all the warmth and humidity moving back in, and that will bring a chance of afternoon and evening thunderstorms. So Friday and Saturday, 40 to 50% chance. Sunday, also a 50% chance after a little lull for tomorrow and Thursday. How much rain over the weekend? Could be 3/4 of an inch to an inch of rain, but it's not just the rain that we're concerned about. It's the humidity. It could feel like 95 to 100 Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I'll show you that sort of day by day coming up in just a little bit. And again, we'll see those afternoon and evening thunderstorms. Lots of events happening for the weekend. A Juneteenth celebration. We're proud sponsors of that there at Dix Park. And Ken and Lena will be the MCs of that. And then, of course, lots of fun for Dad. Just remember those afternoon storms. Ken?
Excellent. Elizabeth, thank you. We got a situation brewing right now in the Wake Forest area. This is right between Wake Forest and Roseville. The car into a body of water. Here's a live look at that scene with the help of photographer Charles Bradley. You can see that's the car that submerged. Our crew on the scene is working to get some new information in terms of what's going on there. You can see the doors open. First responders are still there on the scene. We're working to figure out exactly how this crash happened and when it happened and what's going to be the condition of the victims involved. As soon as we get that new information, we'll let you know. The southern loop of the Beltline, even though congestion is building, traffic is moving along at a slow, steady clip. Similarly, on the northern loop of the Beltline, it's moving at a slow, steady clip. Really nothing that's going to make you late, depending on whether or not you're in a rush. But you're looking at a 1 to 3 minute delay. In terms of other major routes heading into the capital city, here's what we're looking at this morning. Our friends in Wake Forest are looking at a 6-minute delay coming in on US 1, Capitol Boulevard, if you will. Just a 2-minute delay if you're coming in from Nightdale. Over in Durham, very little really to no delays whatsoever over in Durham this morning. You can see right there just a 4-minute delay if you're coming in from Highway 98. Now, we do want to isolate I-885 to let you know what's going on there. If you're heading into Durham this morning on I-885, you're looking at a 5-minute delay, just a 1-minute delay leaving Durham. 101.5 HD3, that's the station to listen to.
All right, thank you, Ken. Immigration debate. A new bill would require the state to work with federal immigration officials. The plan for opponents to publicly stand against this effort today.
And a curfew rollout. The best way to implement a new curfew for some local youth is in the works.
As you get into your car, tune to WRAL News Plus on your radio. In Raleigh on 99.3 FM. In Durham, 96.5 FM. And everywhere on 101.5 HD3.
Good morning. Happy Tuesday. Time now is 8:26. I'm Michelle McConaughey. Ken Smith has a look at your traffic this morning, Ken.
Not a happy commute for the folks in this situation between Wake Forest and Roseville this morning. We have a crash involving a car into a body of water. It's a pond really off the 1200 block of Avert Road. Here's a live look at that scene. You can see the vehicle that's involved in this crash. The doors open right there. We're working to get more information in terms of how this crash happened and the condition of the people involved. We'll have a live report coming up at the bottom of the hour over on Fox 50. Elizabeth?
Dual Doctor 5000 is looking dry right now, but there's a lot of cloud cover out there currently. You might think it's going to rain at any minute, but we're not likely to see much rain until later on this evening. There's still a possibility, 20 to 30% chance as we get into the afternoon that we could see a few sprinkles. But a line of thunderstorms is likely to develop after sunset around 7 or 8 o'clock, and that's where we could end up with a chance of some severe storms, but it would be isolated at best. Cloudy skies for Wilson, Durham, and Fayetteville. A little breezy. Winds are coming out of the south around 10 miles per hour. Our current temperatures are mainly in the mid-70s. Highs will be in the mid-80s.
Elizabeth, today President Trump will be in Fayetteville for a military readiness display at Fort Bragg. Soldiers will present as they celebrate the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army. The president will also give a speech while on post. You can watch that live on Fox 50 or WRAL.com at 4 o'clock this afternoon. And Raleigh police are looking to make an arrest after a shooting at an apartment complex. The shooting happened last night on Caldera Lane near Archean Way in North Raleigh. Police have not released the name of the person who was shot, but they say they are expected to live. Next on Fox 50, the debate over a local youth curfew. And up next on Today, Craig Melvin sits down with Bryan Cranston to chat about his new movie, Everything's Going to Be Great.
Now, breaking news from WRAL. Coverage you can count on.
Breaking news right now at 8:30, a car submerged in a pond. What we're learning about what led to this early morning crash in Wake County.
And I'm tracking our next weather maker, a cold front that'll bring us some storms potentially this evening. I'll show you the timeline.
And big celebration ahead. President Trump will visit Fort Bragg today. How the Army is rolling out a major demonstration.
And growing protests. Hundreds of U.S. Marines expected to arrive in Los Angeles today as tensions intensify. And today, a protest expected in Raleigh as well. What's ahead for both of these demonstrations? Thanks so much for staying with us here on Fox 50. I'm Michelle McConaughey.
I'm Chris Levigood. On a pretty quiet Tuesday as we're beginning the day. A lot of people listening to us on the radio beginning their morning commutes. We do have Elizabeth Gardner tracking our weather forecast to see what they're going to contend with on the road.
So right now we have a lot of cloud cover out ahead of our front. This is our next weather maker that comes in right around 7, 8, 9 o'clock, moves through and potentially brings a line of storms that could produce some wind damage. It would be isolated at best, so it is just a level 1 risk. And again, wind damage would be our biggest threat. Here's a look at Futurecast. Futurecast is trying trying to show an isolated shower popping up right now, but we're not seeing anything on radar. Looking ahead from lunchtime into the afternoon, it stays fairly dry until we get to around 5 o'clock. And even then, it's maybe 5 to 10% of the area starts to see a sprinkle or two. Our best chance of rain comes starting at around 8 or 9 o'clock with this line of storms moving in. Notice it dissipates pretty quickly. So our potential for severe storms today is pretty minimal. It is a gray start and a little breezy in places. We have gray skies here in Apex. It's warm, it's muggy. Dew point way up at 68, 75 is our current temperature. Hour by hour, we climb into the mid 80s, but the clouds hang around for much of the day, so it should feel a little cooler than yesterday. Our temperatures really ramp up as we head into the Father's Day weekend, including our heat index. I'll show you what it will feel like coming up, Ken.
8:31, Elizabeth. We're staying on top of that situation right between Wake Forest and Roseville. This crashed into a body of water, a pond really, in the 1200 block of Everett Road. Let's get right to WRAL's Laura Levine on the scene with what we know and to set the scene for us, Laura.
Ken, just minutes ago, State Highway Patrol here on the scene just confirmed that a man that was in this vehicle was rushed to the hospital. He was pulled from this sinking car in this pond on Everett Road. You can see also a tow truck just arrived here at the scene. That huge response from EMS, Roseville Police that we saw here about 20 minutes ago, they just cleared the scene. So now what we're looking at is crews really working to remove this vehicle from the body of water. I did ask the trooper on scene here what caused this incident. Do we know which direction this person was traveling? What exactly happened to lead them to drive into this pond? They tell me that is still under investigation. As far as traffic in this area, Ken, I can tell you things are moving along nice and smoothly since they were able to clear some of the scene a few minutes ago. So once we get more details about the condition of how that person is doing, that person who was transported to Wake Med this morning, we will be sure to update you. They did also confirm with me that that person was the only person inside the vehicle. Ken.
Some new information there from Laura Levine. Laura, we appreciate that. A little bit closer to Raleigh, the southern loop of the Beltline. You see traffic has definitely eased up quite a bit. If you've been with us for the last hour, you know that congestion was really heavy there. The northern loop of the Beltline, traffic is moving along, albeit very slowly, but it's still moving along. If you're in a rush this morning, yeah, it's moving a little too slow for you. But if you're not, you're probably looking at maybe a 1 to 3 minute delay. In terms of other major routes coming into the capital city, you're just looking at a 4-minute delay if you're coming in from Wake Forest this morning, US 1, if you will, at Capitol Boulevard. Over in Durham, the really main trouble spot is Highway 98. You're looking at a 5-minute delay. You going out to a car right now? You can tune us in on the radio, 101.5 HD3.
Take us with you on the go. Thanks, Ken. Happening today, President Donald Trump will be in Fayetteville for a military readiness event at Fort Bragg. And this is an observation of the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army. The pre-show starts at 1 o'clock this afternoon, and then the readiness demonstration. That begins around 2:30. Finally, President Trump will give a speech on the post there at 4 this afternoon, and WRAL's Kelsey Coffey is at Fort Bragg. That's where we are expecting a full morning of preparations.
We're just hours away from Air Force One landing here at Fort Bragg. The last time President Trump was in the Fayetteville area was back in October during the 2024 presidential election. Trump is coming back today to celebrate the Army's 250th birthday. Paratroopers and military equipment will be used in a private readiness demonstration. Trump will give a speech later that's open to the public. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth will also be at Fort Bragg today. Gates open at 10:30 for the Army birthday celebration. There will be a flyover, a Golden Knights jump, family-friendly activities, and more. Army veteran Dr. Josh McConkey says having this event at Fort Bragg is special.
It's one of the largest bases in the United States. It's home of airborne operations and special operations. So the president flying out here to North Carolina to commemorate that birthday really highlights the importance of Fort Bragg.
You can watch President Trump's full speech from Fort Bragg at 4 o'clock, live on Fox 50 and WRAL.com. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News from Fort Bragg.
And the president has even more military celebrations planned for the Army's 250th. President Trump will be back in D.C. on Saturday for a military parade. Fort Bragg troops and equipment will participate in that event as well. We also expect to see more than 6,000 soldiers, dozens of Army vehicles, including Abrams tanks, cavalry units, marching bands, a flyover of modern and historic aircraft, and a parachute jump by the Army's Golden Knights. Saturday is the official 250th 150th anniversary of the U.S. Army and also happens to be President Trump's 79th birthday.
Raleigh police are working to make an arrest after a shooting at an apartment complex. And that shooting happened last night on Caldera Lane in North Raleigh. At least 12 officers were on scene. And police have not released the name of the person who was shot, but they do say the person is expected to live.
Hundreds of U.S. Marines will deploy to Los Angeles as new rallies take to the streets. Roughly 700 Marines from the Marine Corps base in 29 Palms are mobilizing at Camp Pendleton before deployment. Those Marines will be tasked with defending federal property and personnel. That's according to Defense Department officials. They'll join 2,000 California National Guard troops that began arriving on Sunday.
And as immigration protests intensify in the U.S., protesters are planning their own demonstrations in the Triangle today. Democracy Out Loud plans to hold a silent protest this evening in front of the Legislative Building, and they'll be doing this as state lawmakers prepare to vote on Senate Bill 153. That bill aims to crack down on undocumented immigrants in North Carolina. It does several things, including strengthening coordination with immigration and customs enforcement, charging sanctuary cities with crimes, and preventing undocumented immigrants from collecting state benefits. Members of Democracy Out Loud argue deportations would have a crippling effect on the state's economy.
We've seen countless examples over the past few years of horrific crimes that could have been avoided if we had kept people out in the first place, or if local law enforcement had cooperated with federal law enforcement to get the person out of the country.
That was Ira Melman you heard from there with the Federation for American Immigration Reform. North Carolina business owners are launching an effort for Fourth Amendment workplaces to protect against warrantless ICE arrests. And this morning, they plan to explain the new initiative at a news conference, and that gets started in about an hour.
Breaking news, 8 people are dead after a shooting at a high school in Austria this morning. That includes students and teachers. That shooting happened in the city of Graz. The shooter is also dead. The shooter is believed to have shot and killed themselves. And Democratic leaders will hold a news conference this morning in Fayetteville, speaking out against proposed federal cuts to Medicaid, SNAP, and Medicare. They say the cuts would hit North Carolina's veterans especially hard, calling it a threat to health care access and basic services. The event starts at 9:30 at Cross Creek Linear Park.
Raleigh police will brief city leaders today on updated crime stats showing an overall drop from last year. And they'll also share new tools to prevent retaliatory shootings. The department is working with the DOJ to train officers and engage the community, and it's all a part of a national effort to fight gun and gang violence. Fayetteville city leaders are trying to justify putting a youth curfew in place. A divided city council approved that curfew last month to curb gun violence, and it would apply to people 16 and younger between the hours of 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. each day. Last night, council members debated how best to implement that curfew. There were concerns that were raised about enforcement and potential legal repercussions for families. Some community members say the city needs to take a different tactic to address gun violence, and the curfew will take effect July 9th.
Covering Durham County, the Durham Public Schools Board of Education meets tonight at 6 for a work session. It'll be held at the Fuller Administration Building on Cleveland Street. The public is welcome to attend. Coming up on 9:40, a big shakeup why Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. removed every member of a key vaccine advisory panel and who could replace him then.
And expect the unexpected. Many renters skip insurance, and it could cost them when the unexpected happens. 5 on your side's Keely Arthur breaks down the cost of rental insurance and why it could save you thousands.
8:43. I'm starting with dual Doppler 5000 radar just to show you that there's nothing here because it's so cloudy out there right now. I know people are probably wondering, when does the rain arrive? There is a very small chance that we could see a sprinkle between now and say 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, but it's a real small chance. And then once we get to 8 or 9 o'clock past sunset, the cold front sweeps through, and that's going to bring us a chance of a line of storms, which could produce some wind damage. It would be isolated again, but it's not likely to be until much later today. This is a live look at our Garner Tower. Lots of cloud cover here. You can see the ground below, but we're dealing with a deck of clouds certainly across our area currently. 73 in Fayetteville, 72 in Garner, at 75 in Goldsboro. It's definitely a warm and sticky start this morning. Walking the dog this afternoon, temperatures will be in the mid 80s, and it does stay fairly cloudy. It won't be quite as warm as it was yesterday, which will feel maybe maybe a little better, Ken.
A little better happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center. We're staying on top of that situation there between Wake Forest and Roseville. This crash into a body of water. This is in the 1200 block of Everett Road. Here's some video just into a newsroom of that the car that went into the pond. Laura Levine just reported that one occupant was pulled from this vehicle and rushed to the hospital. We're working to get his condition and exactly how this happened. I'll have an update coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, Ken, thank you. A Wake County elementary school employee is on a paid suspension accused of using a knife in a dispute. This did not happen on school grounds or with another employee or student. Denisha Deming faces 2 misdemeanor charges of simple assault and communicating threats. Jasmine Ramey says Deming came to her home Saturday arguing about a man the 2 women have children with. Police say Deming had a knife and cut Ramey on her face and legs. She's due back in court next month.
Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. dismissed a panel of vaccine advisors, and these are people who historically guide the government's vaccine recommendations. And he plans to retire the 17-member panel and replace them with new members. Kennedy has the authority to appoint and dismiss committee members, but removing the entire panel, that is unprecedented. The group includes pediatricians and epidemiologists, among other physicians. Usually, members serve 4 years.
A man suspected in a double fatal shooting in Las Vegas has turned himself in. Police say Manuel Ruiz surrendered and is charged with 2 counts of open murder with a deadly weapon. The shooting happened Sunday night near the Bellagio fountains on the Las Vegas Strip. Police say they arrived to find the 2 victims on the sidewalk. Investigators say it appears to have been a targeted killing following an online argument. Actor and director Justin Baldoni's lawsuit against Blake Lively and her husband, Ryan Reynolds, has been dismissed. Monday, a New York judge dropped the $400 million defamation lawsuit against the Hollywood couple. The legal battle stems from a film that Baldoni directed and co-starred in with Lively. Baldoni's legal team has until June 23rd to amend some of the claims if he wants to refile.
The average North Carolina driver will see car insurance rates go up by about 5% in October, and that's according to a new announcement from the Department of Insurance. Insurance companies asked for a 20% hike before negotiations started, and they claimed distracted driving, excessive speeding, and increased automobile repair costs drove up the rates there. But new rates start this October.
If you own a home, chances are you've got homeowners insurance. But what if you rent? You might be surprised how many renters skip insurance altogether. 5 on Your Side's Keely Arthur breaks down why that could be a costly mistake and what renters can do to protect themselves.
About 88% of homeowners have homeowners insurance, but only about 55% of renters have renters insurance. And that's a problem, considering renters are 3 times more likely to have their home burglarized. And renters insurance can cost on average about $12 a month and can help with all sorts of trying situations.
Renters insurance can provide an important safety net if something happens.
Aside from helping cover damage or theft of your property and reimbursement if you're forced to move out, insurance offers liability protection if someone is injured in your home. It can also cover some possessions when you're not home, like if something is stolen out of your car. But like any type of insurance, check the policy carefully. So when shopping around for a policy, remember to get a few different quotes. Next, make sure the policy has what you want, whether that's a lower deductible or more coverage. Keely Arthur, 5 on Your Side.
Soon, you will not be able to pay your tax payments in person in 4 Wake County towns. Starting July 1st, the town of Apex, Holly Springs, Knightdale, and Rollsville will no longer accept in-person property tax payments. County leaders say it comes as in-person payments have declined and more digital options are becoming available. All you have to do is go to wake.gov/pay online.
Jeff Hogan in the WRAL Live Center. Some information coming in as the union for the Hollywood performers for video games and things like that has come to a tentative deal that ends what is almost a year-long strike that's been happening right now. The performers are worried about the use of artificial intelligence. We saw it with the actors and the writers. who are part of the same Screen Actors Guild union. These performers for video games, they wanted protections when it comes to unregulated use of AI. So the union saying that that use poses an equal or even greater threat to the video game performers industry than it did in film and television, because it's just so easy to cheaply and easily create the convincing digital replicas of the performers' voices. And we saw this happen with the Fortnite game, with the use, and they filed actually an unfair labor practice charge over the use of AI to make that Darth Vader voice in the Fortnite game.
That's a big deal. All right, thanks, Jeff. United Airlines and Spotify giving travelers a new in-flight entertainment option. The two companies giving passengers free access to more than 450 hours of curated playlists, audiobooks, and podcasts. More than 130,000 seats on United flights will have access to the content by next year. This is the first time the streaming giant has offered video podcasts and audiobooks on an airline. Time for a look at what's trending. Chris, Outer Banks star Jonathan Davis blazing a new road in his career.
Yeah, the 25-year-old actor is set to star as Snoop Dogg in an upcoming biopic. Snoop will co-produce the film, which will follow the rap legend's life through the ups and downs that he's had there, but no word yet on a release date. And I'm genuinely curious to see how this works out, because, I mean, he has a very long life there. Obviously, a lot of things in his career that have happened, so I'm curious to see how it turns out.
It's a big role. It's a big role. I think he's going to do good, though. All right. Well, a dramatic ending to the soccer tournament in Cary. Bumpy Pitch FC won the men's tournament with this goal to beat Pumas de Alabama. The team won the tournament's $1 million prize. Yeah. They're excited about that. Earlier in the day, Team USA won the women's tournament for the second year in a row. Raleigh native Casey Lloyd was a big part of the $1 million winning team. She scored one goal and assisted on another.
Feels good. I've been working this whole tournament up to saving it for the last game. This is like a home field advantage. Yeah, every time it gets better.
That is awesome. Speaking of home field advantage, Lloyd won a state title in high school, national championship in college, and now the TST title, all on the same exact field. That is awesome.
Congrats to her. All right, getting over to Elizabeth Gardner right now. And Elizabeth, talk about that next weather maker that's on deck for us.
So we have a front that's back to the west. We've been talking about it for the last couple of days, and it finally moves through this evening. And so that's when we'll have a chance for some scattered showers and thunderstorms. Some of those could be strong to severe. Early this morning, we had a few sprinkles out there, and then overnight last night, we had some rain. But things are quiet now. There's nothing showing up on radar currently. As we get through the day, it wouldn't be out of the question to see a tiny shower pop up, but we're talking about maybe 20% chance or less. And then we begin to see this line forming up back to our west. It's not likely to come through during the evening commute, but after dinner time, around 7 o'clock, it's just to our west, and then it begins to move through between, say, 8 and 11 o'clock. Notice how it really starts to weaken as it moves into the triangle. That rain may never even make it into our eastern counties. But as it enters the western part of the viewing area this evening, it's possible that we could have a few storms produce some wind damage, but it wouldn't be widespread. Our wind threat is the highest threat, but it's a threat. Everything is a low threat. Our wind, flood, and hail threat are all quite low. So our next weather maker bringing us a lot of cloud cover that should limit the intensity of the storms that we see later on this evening. It's a great time to download the WRAL weather app, and you can follow along. It'll let you know when alerts are issued, if there are any warnings. It also will just let you know if rain is getting ready to move into your area or lightning. So take a look at it if you haven't downloaded it before. Right now it's gray in Apex, but of course no rain falling. It is warm and muggy this morning, though. 75 currently around the Triangle, 73 in Fuquay-Varina, 72 Apex, 73 degrees in Garner. Highs will be in the mid-80s, so a little cooler than yesterday. We were low to mid-90s yesterday, but I tell you what, one thing that doesn't stop is this dew point. Our muggy meter is way, way up there, especially Saturday. Look at that. Our dew point could be 74. I mean, that is solid August, July kind of a feel for us. So it'll feel like 97 on Thursday, 99 on Friday, around 100 on Saturday and Sunday. So if you are headed out to the pool, it's a good place to be, especially tomorrow and Thursday. And we'll have, of course, the chance for some scattered thunderstorms and some hot temperatures for the weekend.
And here's a look at your winning NC Education Lottery numbers.